Ra, ra, Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen.
Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen. There was a
Well, old or young, we're all familiar with this 1970s hit disco song by Boney M, which became a social media trend and a popular TikTok dance challenge for this generation while teaching them about an historical figure. But Boney M didn't just stop at one educational hit. They had another track in their catalog that shines a light on history and that can be very educational to this generation by showing them how they've been lied to. Hi, I'm Daniel Seaman, and you're watching Straight Up on JNS TV in Jerusalem, Israel. This Sunday is Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the Hebrew month of Av. It is a solemn day marking a number of painful events in Jewish history. Most notably, the destruction of Solomon's temple by the Babylonian Empire and the Second Temple in Jerusalem by the Romans. Events which led to extended periods of exile from our ancient homeland. More than 2,600 years ago, the exile was addressed in sacred scripture, the book of Psalms, Tehillim. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yes, we wept when we remembered Zion. If you know the Boney M song, you're familiar with that as well. By the rivers of Babylon, we can all sing this together. But Psalm 137 captures the sorrow of the Babylonian exile, and many are familiar with the verse through Boney M. The psalm continues, "How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?" So anywhere outside of Zion, for us, outside of Israel, is to us a strange land. The book of Psalms is among the texts in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's the 2,000-year-old Hebrew language text of the Bible recovered by archaeologists 80 years ago. Zion and Israel are already mentioned in them 2,000 years before. Yes, 2,000 years ago, from the period of the Roman Empire, who also destroyed the Jewish temple. As is well documented not only in the Arch of Titus in the Roman photograph here from Rome, but also in the works of one Josephus Flavius, a Roman Jewish historian of that era, in his book, as you see here, which includes a description of the siege of Masada, for example. Flavius, by the way, was a commander of the Judean military who betrayed his people and joined the enemies of the Jewish people, a phenomenon unfortunately repeated today, but that's an issue for some other time. Another interesting point is that Psalm 137 has the following, Im eshkachech Yerushalayim tishakach yamini. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its skill. It continues on, and this is very much part of a ceremony that every Jewish couple recite at Jewish weddings for generations now. Well, we're no longer by the rivers of Babylon. We're no longer in exile. We're back in Zion, in the state of Israel. And there are those who have a problem with that, as was evident just this week. Despite the just war that Israel has been fighting against terror organizations openly committed to our destruction, France and Britain have chosen to reward these groups with legitimacy, granting them recognition and perhaps even statehood. They express self-righteous concern about what is happening in Gaza, yet not a single word did they say about the Israeli hostages still being held. Maybe, perhaps, offer international humanitarian organizations could see our hostages, maybe provide them with treatment that was promised in a previous prisoner exchange but never honored. But let's be honest, France and Britain are relics, outdated empires chasing relevance. Their glory faded with the collapse of the colonial Europe, and it peaked back in Sykes-Picot Agreement, an act of imperial arrogance that is at the core of very much of the turmoil across our region today. Their actions sabotage the Abrahamic Accords and undermine U.S. policy in the Middle East. And this is done under financial dictate and extortion by Saudi Arabia and Qatar. But we shouldn't be surprised. These countries in Europe, they never really wanted the Jewish people restored to their homeland. They never wanted there to be a Jewish state. Despite the fact that our connection to this land is undeniable, based in history, immersed in archaeological evidence, and it was recognized in the San Remo Accords. But they chipped away at this truth over time, with the British Mandate, with the Peel Commission, even with the so-called Partition Plan, which offered us but just a sliver of the original territory presented at San Remo. They expected that we would decline the offer, but when that didn't happen, they were hoping that the Arabs would do the dirty work for them. But we prevailed in 1948 against all odds, and they were stunned. They then sought to undermine us with demands of ceding territory under threat of an invasion in a British plan called the Alpha Plan. There were arms embargoes and diplomatic isolation prior to the Six-Day War, And every time we are attacked and dare to fight back. Over the years, an avalanche of unfounded accusations have been leveled against us to challenge our legitimacy. Accusations that linger and are repeated to this day. We are accused of colonialism by the very Islamists who colonized this region. We are accused of being apartheid when we are the only country in the Middle East that offers rights to all of its citizens. We are accused of being imperialist when we have twice returned the Sinai to Egypt following wars that they initiated. We withdrew from Lebanon. We're accused of committing genocide when the enemy population in this region has grown more than 10 times in their numbers. Occupiers, they call us, though we've relinquished parts of Judea and Shomron and withdrew completely from Gaza. And once having done that, leaving Gaza, we were accused of putting them in an open-air prison. You want to know what an open-air prison is? That basically describes what the Arabs and the world did to us back in 1948. From 1948 till 1967, we were a small country surrounded by enemies. We absorbed over 1 million Jewish refugees from Arab countries. We were boycotted, we were besieged, we were denied basic access to our holiest sites. We didn't have a UN refugee organization fulfilling our needs. We had no oil, no natural resources, no 22 other Jewish countries that could assist us or stand for us at the United Nations. We were all alone. All we had was our determination. And all they do is point fingers at us. And all they do is complain. Muslims may not drink wine, but they sure enough whine about everything else. And yet we continue to prosper and flourish. The Arabs in Gaza and in the area of the land of Israel were given the same opportunities as we the Jews were. Why have they failed? Because it was never about them building a state. It was never about them wanting independence. Not in 48, not between 48 and 67, and certainly not now. It's always been about ending our independence, finishing what the Europeans expected and yearned for them to do for 78 years. Because the Arabs nor the Europeans, none of them really want a Palestinian state. They just want to see Jewish failure. And that, well, that's not going to happen. So eat your hearts out. We're here to stay, from the river to the sea. The foreign media over the years have been complicit with the smearing of Israel. Reporting on the conflict here for over 70 years, one would expect that in the very least, they maintain a measure of caution when reporting on events. And if only because of the numerous examples of reports over the years on atrocities and abuses supposedly carried out by Israelis that were eventually exposed as false. They weaponize guilt, they warp the Holocaust imagery, they contaminate memory. It's a modern form of dehumanizing Jews, once again. Reports that rival old canards against the Jews have sprung to life in news headlines, from genocide and hunger. In the past, we've had children poisoned from water in wells. Yeah, this was reported here. Strange injuries caused by mysterious dime weapons. Supposed massacres that occurred in Jenin, in the Mavi Marmara, or Kfar Kana in Lebanon. And also the example of the killing of children such as Mohammed al-Dura. All these events, when independently and seriously investigated, were easily disproved. But the damage to Israel is already done. To discuss this further today, I asked a friend of mine, Amotz Eyal, who is the CEO and founder of TPS.il Israel, a news agency, an Israeli news agency, to join us here and discuss the issues of serious journalism and what you would expect journalism to be about and do, and which is not really happening here in the coverage of Israel and the Middle East conflict. So, Amotz, thank you for being with us here. Before we begin, I'd just like for our viewers to understand what is TPS and why did it come about? What brought you to create it?
So TPS.il today, the Press of Israel, is a news agency, a wire service. We're providing full package to our customers around the world. We have more than 44 countries that we're supplying them the material every day, including pictures, videos, and articles, and with a strong focus on investigative journalism.
And this started, when did you...
I started in 2010, but we had a long way to get to where we are. We at now. I think the big change was in 2019 when we were chosen by the World Congress of News Agencies to be the Israeli representatives there. And we're working today with 20 national news agencies. National news agency is a news agency in each country that's providing the news agency material to all the media outlets in the country. And that's maybe something that I need to explain a bit more.
Yes.
A news agency is not a tool to provide direct news piece to the reader. Okay, a news agency is providing news to other media outlets. If someone wants to read my material, he cannot go to my website. My website is closed with password to media outlets, but he can get it in his own local TV station, in his own local news outlets, and that's how the world is working right now. Just imagine what we know about something that happened in Cambodia. We don't have no one in Cambodia, but we're still getting news from there. We're reading it, we're watching the fight between Cambodia and Thailand. We need the source to provide us this information. So most of this information coming from the international news agencies, AP, Reuters, AFP, that controlling in 85% of the market, global, the news globally. And this is something that I think very important for people to understand. Behind the news that you read, you have someone that sent this news piece to your media outlets.
And they're then just posting. Sometimes they post it fully, or do they add their own?
It depends the media outlets. A lot of them is just copy paste. Others can use it as the main part of the article and to add few things. And few of them will just change the headline or another part of it and will
Make it
sell
fit their outlet.
In the end, they don't have no one on the ground, so how they can get more information? They cannot get the more information, so they depend in the news stream that they're getting from the news agencies.
So what made you at the time decide? Now, I know the answer, but I would like our viewers, because we were in touch at that time when I was head of the government press office, you did address a need that was here. What was the need that you identified back then?
I think the need that I saw back then, it's what we see today in much bigger volume. I saw a problem. I saw that almost all the news that's coming about Israel all over the world are biased, incorrect, and not based on fact. And I said, okay, I need to fight it. So I said, okay, how can I fight it? In my understanding, my background is a bit, I was in the army, I was in a few things, and my understanding in how you winning a battle, first of all, you need to understand what is the right target. And if I will try to fight hundreds of thousands media outlets worldwide, or to change and affect them, or to give them it will be very hard. So instead of that, I said, okay, what is causing to that problem? And I recognize the news agency stream that this is a big problem. You know, you have one mistake or not mistake, and a news piece that's coming about Israel, but then it's multiply by thousands of publications. And then
that they received the
same article
thing,
and just reprinted, rebroadcasted, and then you see all over the world the same headlines, the saying such and such happened, and it's just incorrect. So instead of complaining on all of them, I said, okay, I will feed them with the accurate information, with the factual information, and how you can do it just by being on the site. So I built a network of more than 450 people today in Israel that they are the first respondent of news. When something happened, I'm sending a message to the local group. The first one that can get to the event is going there, taking the pictures, the videos, interviewing the people, and then we kind of doing what all the media today forgot to do, a real journalism, to get to the place, to see in your own eyes what's happened, to check, to verify, and then to send it to the media. So that's what we actually is doing every day, and sending it to a more wider network of media outlets around the world. I think today we're reaching 44 countries every day.
So let's go down to some of the specifics. You said that's what brought you back in 2010 to address this issue. You've grown over the years. And in recent years, the past 2 years, almost 2 years, we've been in very difficult circumstances. There's been a war going on. There was October 7th. And then there's also, as I call it, the eighth area of battle is the cognitive warfare, we call it, or the information war. And we've been running in, as the time progresses, we've been running into more and more incidences. You had these in the beginning of the war, but now especially it's becoming more intense. One of the things you addressed in one of the major stories recently was the story with supposedly the burning of a church in Shomron, in Samaria. Everybody was accusing Israel, including the American ambassador. But unlike, as you said, instead of having people on the ground and addressing, nobody did. They just reported what they were hearing. You sent somebody, and your organization discovered what really happened there. Can you elaborate on that?
So I'll start with just saying that in the end, you had few journalists there on the ground. One of them that I think was the biggest distributed article was Reuters, that just copy-paste by a lot of different media outlets that said Reuters saying it's Israeli settlers. And then it's become, I think, a big... it's become a big challenge because people in Israel love the Christian people, the Christian evangelical that's supporting Israel, that care about Israel. And when when we saw that a lot of them becoming very angry about us because what happened there, I said, okay, I have to try.
Not what happened there, what we were accused of doing
Because
there.
what we accused, because the articles, I'm talking, because the articles, I said, okay, I have to go to the field myself and to check what's happening there. How I knew that this happened, because I got a tip from Eliana, her name. She's from the Binyamin consul, regional consul, and she told me this story are becoming big, and we don't know what's actually happened there. Like we need to prove it. We need to show it. So I went by myself together with my team after to Taibe, and we first of all we were shocked to find out that the church just didn't burn. That's the first thing that we find out.
It isn't.
Like nothing happened.
Standing,
to the church.
there's no
Standing, stone.
There's no charcoal on it.
Not on the church itself. Next,
When I read that, the interesting thing is that what people have to understand, when you look at the Western Wall, they uncovered after years, you had chalk on the walls of the Western Wall there from the burning from 2,000 years earlier by the Romans, and here, you're talking 2 days, 3 days later, there wasn't any.
Yes, but it's not surprisingly, because again, I could see 50 meters from there marks of burning field. But I said, okay, the church wasn't burned, didn't burn. What happened there in the field? So I spoke with the people, and I started to get more and more information that's saying Jewish shepherds going to this area with their cows, and the Arabs that came there wants to expel them from the field. They believe it's their own field, so they try to burn. What they did is just burn this field against the Jewish shepherd. Now, I called to the police spokesperson. I asked him who complained about this burning. And I got very precise answers. Like the Jewish shepherd called and complained about the Arabs that trying to burn this field, and no one from the Taibe side called.
Nobody from the
Christian
Christian village
complained about the burning.
Nobody
That
alerted
was
the
very
police or the fire. Nothing. No calls from them.
That was very suspicious. And then I tried to check and Google what's people talk about it. And I found videos that the Arab from Taibe blamed the settlers of burning the field in the video. And when I asked the firefighter departments what you see in the video, because you saw shepherds going with a blower. They told us that that's how they're training to help and to
Put out the fire.
Put out the fires.
These were fire extinguishers.
Yes.
It wasn't flamethrowers.
Exactly. So you have the shepherds are trying to take out, to take down the fire, and you have a complaint from there, and you have churches never burn, and no one check it before. Reuters just came there did their own story, blamed the Jews, and sent it all over the world.
But this is an important point we have to make out. You talk about your own organization. You have representatives in other places around the world, and certainly 44 around Israel. Reuters also employs locals in these areas, and the locals are Arabs.
A lot of them, but not all of them, I have to say. But again, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about who they are. I just want to talk about the poor journalistic skills that they show. Like
Poor or deliberate, because
you're right. I believe, because we see it systematically, that you have something there behind. But mistake by mistake, you see that it's going against one kind of population here in Israel, and that's why I'm doing my job. I'm trying to give another. I'm not saying to my customers worldwide, don't work with Reuters, don't work with no one else. Saying just check, verified, check what we supplied, and we see that more and more they're starting to based on our material. Why? Because we're just checking. We went back 50 years to the times that journalism was a skill, something that you do, and working hard to provide the truth. You need to go and take the pictures and not hide them.
we know that journalism in recent years, certainly you started in 2010, I believe at that point there was a huge decline in the number of, Israel was less of a story back then. And I remember working with the media at that time that many of them were shutting down, they weren't sending people here. They were relying more and more on the news agencies. But also there was a decline in hiring because they didn't need people here. Now, in recent years, there's been a rise once again. But you're also noticing, because you're hiring people, and you just mentioned that journalism today is not similar to what it was back then. You mentioned that you see a decline in the qualifications of people who've worked for media outlets and are applying for jobs with you, and you see they don't have the basic skills.
Yes, they're not looking for the hard work. You see the journalists today that used to get PR releases, used to get complete stories from different organization, and just sitting in the office and rewrite it and send it as a news piece. And you're not finding a lot of journalists that's going, checking, verifying. It's not happening in 1 hour. It's happening in hard work. Like we just released today. I don't know if we're just getting it, but we just released today an investigative story about what's happening in Gaza. That's investigative story we're doing for the last 2 weeks.
You've been working on this for 2 weeks.
Yeah, working on that for 2 weeks because we needed to verify, to find the document that people try to hide, to go over social media accounts and to verify each one of them, like what they said, to get.
This is about the whole starvation and lack of food, and so you've been spending the past 2 weeks investigating this with locals. I'm assuming you didn't physically go in there, but you have your own.
So I have my local people in Gaza, but I have also work to do here in Israel to find there and to research and to speak with the UN, to speak with different organizations that connected to that. And but you need to go and work hard for that. And after 2 weeks, we got a clear view of how the pipe of the aid is leaking. Everyone love to blame Israel, but we see after behind the Kerem Shalom border crossing, warehouse or base with tons of food that wasn't distributed by the UN, and then you see when trucks are distributed, you see our people robbing the truck or taking the food from the truck before it's getting to the people itself. And then when you're going and we send our person in Gaza to the markets, you see high prices of product from the aid sold in the market.
The aid is supposed to be distributed
for free.
And they're taking this and they're selling it to the people. And the people they're not really working right now. They're not really being employed or making money. And yet they're charging them for this food. We're not talking about Israel. We're not talking about the UN. We're talking about locals that are doing this.
Exactly, and I think, and my feeling that the lack in journal. What is the job of the journalist in the end? To find things that are working badly, or and to put a spotlight on them that the world can fix it, or at least to understand it. And when all the media worldwide that's coming here, they you have their own agenda and they're looking for just one kind of failure, you cannot fix it. Now, in the end, you have a person that's not getting his food.
All right.
But if you don't understand why it's happened, or what is the cause, or all the cause, so you are responsible for it.
The interesting thing is here, when they keep pointing the finger at Israel and accusing Israel, and I'm not saying, okay, maybe there is some lacking here, and the pressure makes Israel address it. But there are other reasons, as you've discovered in this investigative report that you did, there are other reasons that regardless of what Israel does, these people may still not receive food. So if you're so concerned about that, why wouldn't you, not you, but why wouldn't the people who are so quick to raise concern, why aren't they also concerned about?
More than that, Israel she's still doing another 2 operations, supporting 2 operations to give food in Gaza. One is the global health food, GHF,
Yeah.
and
Foundation. Yeah.
and the other one is with airplanes, like to
Right. The airlifting, airdropping, right.
Both of them are trying to get to solve the problem of the food leaking. And Israel is trying to do these things. Again, I'm not saying it's perfect. We have another information of also Hamas is attacking the GHF, and we have other information that also show that this program also attacked by. But when we ask the UN about this program, they say, we don't need another organization. We don't need another operation. We're doing it perfectly, basically. And they are against GHF. Why? Because it's not fit to their agenda to work with Hamas, I guess. I don't know. That's what I don't understand why people are looking all the time, why they are against the solutions. Again, you see the dropping, and you see people getting it. I have videos of the dropping. I have videos of people that getting the food now without no one to stop it before. Why you are against it? Why you thinking your solution is the only solution? Because you don't thinking it's the only solution. You want to control it. And that's, I believe, also what Hamas is trying to do, is to control the food. Hamas was established in 1987. It was established as a non-for-profit organization. I don't know how much people know about it, but in the end, they started in the first year just by becoming a charity to give food for people. And that's how they started to build trust and recruit people for their military wing. And why is it different from today? They still need soldiers. They need to stay alive. They need to control the population. How they will do it? The only way is with food. Now, if the population is getting the food directly, it's hurting Hamas.
Right.
So what I see, and also what we checked, is that basically the people that supporting this food chain, like this is food distribution, is doing it to save Hamas.
And the other interesting thing is that you have people there working and exposing this, and they're under threat right now. And, and all they wanted to do was find out and try to help the distribution of food, and yet now they're threatened, not by Israel, but by Hamas itself, for exposing this thing.
True, but this has also led me to another questions. Why when you're going to Gaza, when journalists working in Gaza, you see always stories from Hamas side. Why? Gaza is controlled by Hamas. Hamas is not a democratic party or democratic states. If you're not working and not sending what he said, you are under threat. And that's what happened to my photographers in the last few weeks. They saw leaking of information that's against them, so they're threatening their life. And this is how you think is different with other media outlets? No. So you need to know that every or almost every journalist that's working inside Gaza and sending information from there is working with approval from Hamas, and mostly with Hamas words in his mouth. Otherwise, he cannot work freely in Gaza.
That's what I try to tell people a lot. We know this back 20-some years ago when I was working on this, and I had a very prominent Arab journalist who I had a lot of respect for. And he said to me, you're trying to cause problems for us. And he said, the worst that can happen with you, he says, is that you'll take away my press card. I can still work. He said, I don't know who will be waiting for me in my own kitchen when I get home if the other side. So he says, what am I going to do? So he says, I'll ignore what you want and your standards, and I'll make sure I don't make them angry because they will be physically violent against me, could even kill me. And he was very honest to say that. He says, I have to be very careful with what I report because they're not a democratic society.
But that's something that I really, I'm trying always to understand better, and I'm failing in understanding better. Because if you are a journalist, okay, let's say you cover Gaza from inside, you work under their restrictions, you left there. Why are you not talking about it? Why do you not expressing that in the media worldwide? And that's something that I'm still, I'm asking myself now. I have few answers for that, but it's something that we need to ask every journalist that work there.
I have an answer. Somebody told me once that he said, yes, I do leave, but I still have family there, and they can use the family against me.
That's true, but I want to, I remember a Brave TV crew that was inside Gaza. I think it was 2014 or 16. I'm not sure about the year itself, but he had a video of Islamic Jihad missiles that landed inside Gaza and killed people, and he didn't release it. But a month later, that they left Gaza, they released it and said that they couldn't do it because they was afraid. So I believe people need to understand that it's very dangerous to work there. My people is doing it because they believe in the code and believe that they need to expose it. But be critical about any news piece from Gaza. It's not just because agenda. It's also a lot of media outlets that have agenda. But I don't think it's just, you can just blame agenda. You need to understand that when you're working there, when you're covering things that is not rely with Hamas, you're under a threat.
I can add to that from my own experience with it. Back in the Intifada, in the beginning of the year 2000, early 2000, there was a video of the lynching of 2 Israeli soldiers. And the infamous photo of an Arab in Ramallah from the police station where they grabbed the Israeli soldiers and butchered them, standing in the window with his hands up, bloodied hands in the air, that some idiots in the West are mimicking today as if it's something for the benefit of them. This was a person proud of the fact that he physically, with his own hands, murdered Israeli soldiers. And
by Israeli soldiers that by accident
right.
got to there. They were there in a fight or something. They just made a
right. They made a wrong turn.
Wrong turn.
And now the PLO at that time tried to prevent these images from coming out. And they went around telling all the media that were there, that were filming this, that to give them the material and threaten them. And it came out by a small Italian station. They assumed that it was Rai Television, the main Italian station, and they threatened the correspondents for this Italian station to the point where my office and the Prime Minister's office, we had to go to the media outlet here in Jerusalem, drive them to the airport with our own security because they wanted to leave the country. They were afraid to walk around. And this happened back 25 years ago almost. And still today, people don't realize because Rai never admitted that. They never told people that.
Of course. It's something that, again, they want to send other people again. They want to go again to Gaza to cover. If you have Hamas against you, it means that you cannot get to Gaza anymore as a media outlet. So you're trying to keep it quiet how much that you can. And that's something that's hurting every news piece. And that's something that, again, I don't believe that you can solve by complaining on the media, saying that you cover it wrongly. Okay, what they can do? The only thing that we can do is to provide the truth, to provide the fact, and then the editor there can use it because it's not risking them. We're taking the risk, and we're doing it every day. We know that we are taking the risk because we know that the mission here is so important. Like we have 2 years here of war in Israel, but the war is not in one front; it's in two fronts. The war is also about the truth. And if you will not understand that you are a soldier in the war of the truth, who will fight for you?
And it's important to stress, you are not government funded in any way. You're not related. You're an independent organization that.
Non-for-profit organization, independent, with very low budget. Of course, we always hoping and need to expand, but with very low budget, and we succeeding not because we have the biggest manpower or we spending money on it. No, we succeeding because we just giving the fact. And I think when I started by giving cameras to people on the ground and ask them to take the videos of what actually happened. And people ask me, how you think with your 5 cameras, that's how I started, you can change the video there? I said, because one of my cameras is worth 10 of them. We need one shot. They need to edit it from 8 different angles. And that's also about TPS. It's the most maybe smartest money spent, because with $1 that we have, we multiply it by in publication by thousands or millions, and we need in the end that is the industry of news agency. News agency, if I will build my own news website, maybe I'll get a lot of hits, but who will read my material? People that looking for my kind of material. But my story today, the story of the church, okay, that we succeed to expose, it was published by tens or hundreds of media outlets around the world, giving the truth to their people in their own newspapers, in their own TV station. That's what we do. And we're doing, and why is they using our material? Because they're trusting our material. Why they trust our material? Because we prove it. 9 years of hard work to get story by story to make sure that they believe or trust in our material. And we are there. We are in this position just because we're doing, like I said, the journalistic. We went back to the journalism skills.
And I'm just curious if Huckabee or the Pope, who were very quick to denounce Israel and criticize what happened at the church in Taiba, if they had seen or they made a correction, or if they, because they say that the truth, the lie goes halfway around the world before the truth puts on. So you're putting on the boots of the truth for the truth. But it's already been perpetuated the fact that Israel has done this, and the damage has been caused.
True, but in this case, yes, Huckabee said that it wasn't the
He
Jewish
corrected
based. He corrected it. I have to say, from beginning, he was a bit more cautious. He said that it's look like act of terror, but he didn't say who did it. It just people that read understand it's like the Israelis. And then after we released the story and the expose, he replied that he's not Israelis, and we saw it in other places. People like understood, and again, it's not because we force them or aim a threat. It just we show it. I went there with the camera, with the drone, where we show the videos of the picture.
Yeah, you
of the
took a
church
picture from
up,
the air.
yeah, from the air,
Great.
that show that nothing happened to the church.
The field was burned around, but
the
never
field-
crossed into the area of the church itself.
Exactly. We spoke with the people. We just gave the fact, and that's what journalism missing today. Fact. TPS IL is not. We don't have opinion pieces in our news agency, and it's by decision. We're not going to opinion. We're basing our stories based on fact, on check, on pictures, on videos. And that's what we are for. We to provide the news like it's supposed to be.
And talking about that, there's an organization that says that its motto is all the news that's fit to print, the New York Times. You are working on a particular incident with them. Not that there's so many, but one of a wrong headline that they didn't verify that you are addressing right now.
So I have to say that I didn't work on this specific article, but we're working on this investigation stories that we released today for 2 weeks, and this week the New York Times released a story that's saying that the Israeli army don't have any evidence for Hamas stealing the food, and we have. We did few phone calls, and
You're not the IDF.
Yeah, I'm not the IDF, but I did just few phone calls in my investigative story, and I found a lot of evidence. But one of the evidence that the IDF had is official document that's saying from Hamas that they need to take 25% of the food. So I don't understand. Like, he quote unknown army officials,
Right.
and it's the easy way. It's the easy way to hide behind lies. I don't know who are these people, what the relationship to Gaza or to the intelligence, but I have the document itself that's saying Hamas officially saying we need to take 25% from food in 2000. It's from 2000, the end of 2004, and he said that in 2023 we need to take 25%. We in 2024. In 2024, we need to take 15%, but this is just the official numbers, not including the
People are making money off the side.
the money of the side. And one of the things that we know for fact, and it's not in the report, but I'm adding it here because I know it from my sources there, that 8 UN warehouse was robbed by armed people in Gaza. Everything is pointing on Hamas, but no one is agreed to talk about it. So they're trying to hide it. Why? And why other media outlets is not checking it? Why everyone have very narrow vision, looking just on one kind of stories and missing the whole stories around that are make much more impact for good for the people in Gaza. I'm not talking now about Israel. I'm talking about the people in Gaza in the end that going to the market wants to get their own mango or their own vegetable, but they cannot get it because high price. But where the fruit came from aid. It was supposed to be delivered for free. And people don't care, unfortunately, really about the Palestinian in the end. They care about keeping Hamas or keeping the control of Gaza in terror hands.
One last, before we end here, one last piece of advice, though you've given a lot of advice to people. Do we want to stress one last point before we end our conversation?
I think it's the main advice that I spoke about it, but I need to repeat and to be very clear. Please check who are the sources for your story, the stories that you read. And this is something that people need to be more aware, because no one is checking who is behind the story, who gave this information. Imagine your reporter understand that he's lazy, he's in office, he's writing his story. Who gave it to him? And then you will understand more about the story itself.
Amotz Eyal, the founder and CEO of TPS.il, an Israeli-based news agency. Thank you for providing us with the insights and giving us your knowledge of what is happening in the field here in Israel, Judea, Samaria, and also Gaza. And thank all of you for being here, joining us, and listening to us, and watching us. And we'll be back with you next week. I'm Daniel Seaman, and you are watching Straight Up on JNS TV here in Jerusalem.